Welcome to Bobby's Kitchen. Today we are going to make some kombucha. Now what kombucha is it's a fermented tea that has a lot of good properties to it. I will put a link down below in the video and stuff to show exactly what it is. It's thought to have good probiotics and everything, but it does have beneficial yeast and bacteria and stuff for your gut, so it is good. And with all this coronavirus scare and flu season coming on, now is the time to make sure that you are healthy, and the health of a person and stuff actually starts in the digestive tract. So this is what my kombucha looks like. I have it in a jar. This did have a metal in on it, but this stuff is pretty acidic or whatever, so you basically do not, it kind of made a mess of the lid, so I've just gotten rid of it. This is just a paper towel with a rubber band around it. But if you look closely, this thing up at the top is called a scoby. Symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast is what that stands for. So I actually have a friend at work who wants a start of this, and this has been sitting a little too long for me to drink and stuff. Ideally, you want to ferment it for about 9 days. That's my personal preference. Then I pour it off into sealable jars, actually. These bottles that regular kombucha came in. I'll put it in that, leave a little bit of space at the top, and actually put thawed out fruit juice in that. About, probably 3 tablespoons, I would say, to a bottle. And seal that up really tightly. Let it sit on the counter for 3 or 4 days, and then this will actually carbonate. So it's basically almost like soda pop. But mixed berry, grape, whatever flavors you like. It's like strawberry lemonade or something if you like that kind of stuff. This is kind of wangy, so I'm going to warn you ahead of time and stuff. You might want to stay towards fruits that are a little bit sweeter than maybe, say, lemonade. But I've never tried it. It might be really good. So anyway, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go ahead and pour some of this kombucha off and take and trim my scoby down so he actually has a start of the scoby to go with his starter tea. You want to save about 2 cups of the starter tea to send with your scoby to whoever it is that wants it. And this thing will continue, the scoby on here, will continue to just keep developing layers. So it will also adapt itself to the size of the container, so if you have it like in a quart jar or something like that, it won't get any bigger than the inside of that quart jar. Having a gallon here, I could cut this thing into 4 different pieces, give it out to 4 different people. Well, actually 3 different people, because I'm going to have to keep one of the scobies for myself. But so like I said, you can share this with your friends if they want and stuff. So it's a good alternative to soda pop if you kind of want to get your kids away from that, or even yourself or whatever. I drink it for the health benefits, and I like the taste of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a cutting board, and I'm going to trim this scoby, and then I'm going to get my seal-a-meal out and actually put the tea into a bag, sealed up bag, along with the scoby, push as much air out of it as I possibly can, and then seal it up. I don't want it on vacuum because that will suck the liquid right up into my seal-a-meal, and I don't want to do that because that's a good way to ruin one. Take it from somebody who sucks some meat juice in there and kind of ruined the machine for a while. So let's get started on this, and like I said, we'll get the cutting board out and we'll actually trim this up, and I'll show you how I seal up the bag and everything so you can share it with your friends. Okay, I've cut off a section of bag. Both of these ends on this right now are open. So what I want to do is I'm going to double seal this. And I really love this vacuum sealer. It's the model V3240. So just want to press seal on this. I don't want to press vacuum and seal because it'll just sit here all day and not actually do what it's supposed to. And this is just to make sure I do not have any leaks. Seal again. I like the fact that this thing is hands off even when it comes to the sealing part. And there we go. We got our double seal up here at the top. So I'm going to now move this out of the way. Now I'm going to need that for later because I bought 5 pounds of hamburger I'm going to have to break down. So with this, we want to make sure and wash our hands really good because I'm actually going to jump into that jar and pull that SCOBY out. So make sure your hands are clean. You don't want any bacteria or anything from your hands actually in the SCOBY. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually just going to reach in there and pull that out. And you can see, here's the, let's zoom around this way. Here's the original SCOBY that I put in there. It's like I said, stuff, and then it just grows. It makes a new SCOBY, and then it just attaches itself to the old one. So ideally and stuff, you want to try to keep the new one, and you can discard the old one. So this can actually go bye-bye. I've heard of people making dog treats out of these and drying them and doing things with them, but I'm just going to toss it. So here we go. So separating these is kind of a pain, but there's a SCOBY, and there's the other layer of SCOBY that it made. So I'm just going to drop that back in there. And for this one, so for this one, I'm just going to cut it to square it up a little bit. And this can actually be tossed as well. If you get a lot of these, you can actually make what they call a basically a SCOBY hotel or SCOBY motel, and just have a jar of tea that you're refreshing every once in a while. Just keep throwing the SCOBYs in there, and then you can share as you need to. So I'm going to put the SCOBY in this bag, and then in order to make sure. I'm going to go over the edge of the sink here, fill this bag up with some of this tea. And I'll be back because sometimes the SCOBY tends to break loose, some of it does, and it clogs up in your spigot, and it takes a while to get this out, so I will be back. Okay, now here comes the tricky part. The best way to do this is to put it over the edge of something like this to try to force most of the air out of it. Stick it in our sealer. And as I said, do not press the vacuum button. Press only the seal button. Okay, lights off. And I want to seal this a couple more times, just to make sure. Like I said, if you get a little moisture in your bag, it tends to not seal so well. So let's move this out of the way. And here we go. There's our SCOBY and our starter tea ready to share with your friends. You want to kind of make sure that you give this to them pretty soon after you do this, because the bag will continue to swell as it ferments. So there we go. And then I'll just print off the recipe and send the recipe with them so they know how to start this. And I'll also put a date on the front of this bag so we know what date I gave it to them. So that's pretty much it. I'll show you how to actually make the tea to go in here, and it's really simple. All it is 4 regular sized tea bags. What I use is I use 4 of the Earl Grey and 4 green ones. If you got the jumbo size or whatever. Don't use herbal flavored teas like hibiscus or whatever and stuff like that. I've heard that it will not work. I have not tried stuff as I just like the tea just plain like this, but I've heard that the herbal teas, Sleepy Time and all that stuff will not work with this. But I just stick with Earl Grey and green tea, and I've had really good luck with this. So we'll just set this up to the side, and I will show you how to actually make the tea to go in here. And as I said earlier, this tea has gone a little too long. Generally and stuff, if it gets too old or whatever and stuff, it's like you can really, when you open the top of it, it really reeks of like a vinegar smell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour most of this off, not all of it. You can do things with this tea and stuff. If you look on the internet, there's recipes on how to use this and stuff. But and I can take just a little bit more off. You want to leave a cup or 2 in here with it. Sometimes you'll get some dark looking scoby stuff in there. So just make sure you leave some in here. Don't pour it all off. Cover it back up so nothing gets in there. And we're going to boil some water. What I do is I have water that I actually put in these half-gallon jugs so it can sit and the chlorine come out of it. So I've just got a 2-cup mixing cup here is glass. Just pour some of this in here. Leave some space. And you'll want to add 1 cup of sugar to this. Now I go ahead and put the sugar in there now, so I don't have to worry about it dissolving later. Okay, I got my 1 cup of sugar in here. Just kind of stir it around a little bit. And this Bigelow is the brand that I use. If you get these like packs like this, there's actually 4 tea bags in each pack. So I have green tea, and I have the black tea. I believe it's a Earl Grey. I'm not English, so I'm not up to date on my teas. So I just want to open these up. Just basically, you're just going to put these, I just hang them over the side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to microwave this on high for about 4.5 minutes. Okay, we've boiled our tea in the microwave for 4 minutes. And so I'm just going to take a piece of aluminum foil, put it over the top of this to seal it up. And they say to wait 15 minutes, but it's like I just wait until it cools off. But when it cools off, and we're going to actually put this, I always add the cold water first to my SCOBY in case there's any residual heat in this whatsoever. Put that in our gallon jug, these 2 things of water, and then pour the tea in there. Set it off to the side. And on the side of my jar, let me grab it real quick. On the side of my jar, I actually have a label. This says when this will be ready. So as you can see, it's like I made that 10 days before this ready date. So anyway, so that away and stuff, there's a label there that tells you when this is ready to go ahead and put it off into your bottles and add your fruit juice and stuff like that. So that's just kind of a handy thing to keep track of it, because I'm not real good with keeping track of dates. But anyway, we will be back whenever it's time to put our tea in there, and that's basically it. Just let it ferment, but we'll finish it up just so you know what to do. Okay, so I have a plastic strainer here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down in the sink so I don't make a gigantic mess. And I'm going to pour my tea into this. It's like I said, remember to save about 2 cups of this tea so you have a starter for the next batch. So I have about that much left in there. So I want to stir that around to get it mixed up real good. And I have my kombucha bottle and a plastic funnel. You could probably pour it right into the bottle out of that spigot, but knowing my luck, I'll probably make a gigantic mess, so I'll just pour it into the bottle here. And take this and set it off to the side and let the foam settle down just a little bit. Get your next bottle. And on these, you pretty much want to fill it up pretty close to the top, and then that way you get some good carbonation on there. And I'll continue filling the bottles and we'll be back. And there we have our 4 bottles of kombucha ready to go. So what you want to do with these is you want to set them off to the side for 2, 3, 4 days. It just kind of all depends on the temperature of your room. The warmer the room, the quicker that they will ferment and carbonate. Usually I leave these about 4 because I like them pretty carbonated. Screw these caps on really good, and I will warn you, so whenever these get done fermenting, put them in the refrigerator or they will continue to ferment. And when you go to take the caps off, you will have a gusher. So after these get done fermenting in like 3 or 4 days, it may take you a few trial runs to get it exactly where you want it as far as the carbonation amount is concerned. So after you kind of get that down to a science and stuff, after it reaches that carbonation level that you like, definitely refrigerate it, or like I said, it will continue to carbonate. So anyway, so then you just, after these get done and you've got them in the refrigerator or whatever, now that we've bottled this up, what you do is you just go ahead and brew your next batch of tea just like we showed at the beginning of the video, and then you just start the process all over again. So it's really easy and stuff. It's just you have to kind of get in a cycle of doing things and remembering I'm actually a day late. I'm actually a day past this date. Where am I? Yeah, I'm actually 1 day past the 24th. So it didn't smell wangy or anything when I poured it, so it should be good. If this gets vinegary smelling, chances are you're probably not going to like it, so you can just pitch it and then start a new batch. Just make sure to save your SCOBY and like 2 cups of your starter. So basically that is it for kombucha. So like I said, you don't have to add the flavoring to this. If you want to, you could probably add just a couple tablespoons of honey and drink this just the way it is. Or if you like it wangy, you could just drink it straight out of here. So like I said, I do like to mix this with regular tea, so you kind of get a lemony flavor. You kind of get that tart and then the regular tea flavor at the same time. But you do not have to flavor it. I do like the carbonation because it kind of reminds me of like grape soda or berry soda or whatever. But that's all there is to it, folks. It's actually really easy. And it's like I said, this little SCOBY that we cut down the other day has already filled up the whole top of this again. So, it's like I said, it will grow to the size of the container. If you've got a quart jar, that's how big it'll get. If you've got a pint jar, that's how big it will get. So, anyway, thanks for watching, and definitely give this a try. I think you'll like it.